Okay. I just saw the stream pop on YouTube.
I have not gotten there yet.
And can somebody bring up Twitch?
There it is. I'm going to Twitch unless Wolf is on it before I am.
No, I'm going to YouTube, and apparently I gotta fix some things.
We are live.
Sweet.
We look good. Although the title still says test.
I also need to make sure that you are set as the host.
I will monitor Twitch if you cats monitor YouTube's.
I've got YouTube up. Jeff says, I'm playing Fallout 4. How's that new update? I've heard people are trying to back it out.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people putting mods down to not play the new updates. I thought it looked pretty good, but I played about 5 seconds of it, so I don't have a leg to stand on. Real.
All right, we're live. So whenever you would like to kick it.
All right. Okay. See if I can do this with the day that I've had today. I don't know if I'll be able to pull this off. This is going to sound like crap, guys, so I apologize, but my one-liner's decent. All right. We ready? All right. I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart. Today on
Okie dokie. The intro is all messed up. Don't mess up over the intro. Yeah. I created a new scene apparently and
high motion
and blew stuff up.
Okay.
All right.
Welcome, one and all, to your favorite Fallout Friday. Well, for at least this Fallout Friday. If you guys didn't know, we will be discussing some Fallout today and, some bombs and some explosions and some fun times. Of course, I will not be discussing it alone. Not only will I have my wonderful Vault-Tec bobblehead with me, but I also have two of my other favorite bobbleheads with me. Wolf, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing fine. I got all my my vault dwellers in line.
Yeah. Looking good. Vault 69 is really bringing up the back end there. Sinistar, how are you, my friend?
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, and it is the happiest of Fridays. So we've had this discussion about the three of us are pretty big fans of a good majority of the Fallout series, 3 being top of the line, we believe, as a collective, I believe, of the Fallout games. But not only are we fans of that, but we also are going to talk about the brand new TV program that was released on Amazon Prime TV that has got the same name. Fallout, which is, for those of you who live under a rock, is basically a post-apocalyptic video game that is set in a 50s motif where basically the communism thing keeps on going and everybody launches nukes at one another and completely destroys the world. Now, these people they work with a company called Vault-Tec, and Vault-Tec creates huge, massive underground livable barriers for entire civilizations, so to speak, or communities, if you want to call it. Probably smaller like a community than it would be a civilization. And they live underground for however long, and then Reclamation Day is upon them, and they are able to go back out into the desolate world of destruction and try to reclaim the planet Earth after all the bombs fell. So the show basically does some really cool aspects that will tell you how it kind of started, how it's going, and then there's a lot of flashbacks between, what happened, how they got to where they're at, and then a bunch of other really cool stuff. So there's 3 characters in the TV show. There is obviously the main character, Lucy,
Yep.
who is part of the Vault team. There is I cannot remember the squire's name. I only remember his knight's name. I don't remember the squire.
Dane? No. Dane is the other character. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on it as well?
Yeah. Anyways, the brotherhood. If someone opened their mind palace and grabbed it for me, Maximus. Thank you.
Sinstress pulls
Coming
that
in
one
hot.
out.
Thank you. So Squire Maximus, which is part of a kind of a religious /
the Brotherhood
medieval
of Steel
army called the Brotherhood of Steel. Yes, they're basically the army of the post-apocalyptic world. And then there is, of course, everybody's fan favorite, the Ghoul, played by none other than Walton Goggins, who is fan-fucking-tastic in everything he touches. So yeah, there's a lot that's going on in this show. There's 3 stories. They come together eventually in some way, shape, or form. Kyle MacLachlan's in it, who is, from Twin Peaks and from the original Dune. And if you don't know who Kyle MacLachlan is, I'm sorry. He is a gem of an actor and a human being. And then a bunch of other really cool people are in it too. So there's been a lot of talk about video game adaptations into TV series. And the 3 of us have grown up with such wonderful movies, such as Street Fighter, the movie.
The video game.
The video game, the movie. I had on the Mario Brothers movie, of course, with John Leguizamo.
And Bob Hoskins.
And Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper, that haircut, chef's kiss.
Fantastic. I was thinking about getting blonde cornrows myself, so I could be like King Bowser, King Koopa in this particular thing. And as most of us know, they've not been well received. But within the last couple of years, we've had some really good turnarounds, such as The Last of Us, which I've only seen the first episode, but it pretty much left off exactly where I left off in the game. So I refused to watch any more of it until I could play a little bit more of the damn game. And Fallout. Now, Fallout is not it's not based on any of the games.
Well, it's an entirely different.
It's loosely based on the games. So
it's an entirely different vault, right? But each game is a different vault as well. So I mean, it fits.
So there's more like Easter eggs in it than it fits. It plays just like 1, 2, or 3 or 4.
Yeah. Well, it's from what I read, it sounds like as far as Bethesda is concerned, it's not canon to the games. Mm-hmm. But it seems like the showrunners are trying to make it fit with what already exists in the games so that it can be just plugged in and assumed to be canon from the TV show side. Like the games are canon to the TV show, but the TV show is not canon to the games, I guess.
That makes sense. I mean, understandable. So I know that Fallout, I don't know where Fallout 1 and 2 are based out of, like in the world, but I know 3 is Washington, D.C., and 4 was like Virginia or Philadelphia. I don't remember. Somewhere on the East Coast.
And then, of course, New Vegas is in Vegas, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, 1 and 2 take place in the New California Republic.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So there's a little bit of connection between 1 and 2 with this one.
Yeah, 1 and 2, you're essentially wandering the wasteland, though. I don't know if you ever actually see the coast.
Not that I remember. But it's been 25 years since I played it, so.
And I've watched recent video on it, and that was as close as I got. So Fallout 1 and 2 are almost like they're kind of point and click RPGs, like essentially.
They're isometric. They're isometric.
But they're isometric, right? Exactly. Yeah. And then you have Fallout Tactics, which is a tactical RPG. We don't want to talk about that because I don't give a shit about that. But we got 3, which.
Hidden Gem.
which 3 then became, the first person / third person view that we all came to love and adore. And then 4 just kind of continued that, as well as Fallout 76 and Fallout New Vegas. So Fallout TV show takes place in Southern California, basically off the coast. As Wolf said, there's a scene at the beginning. There might be spoilers in the show. So if you've seen the show or you haven't seen it yet and you want to, listen, and then we'll announce like we normally do. We'll get to spoiler territory. We'll try not to ruin anything for you. I think we might be able to skirt this, but I know all 3 of us have seen all of it as far as I'm concerned. Yeah? And there's some pretty good twists and turns in it. So we'll discuss whether to discuss that or not, but I don't know if we're going to. Anywho, it's got the same, it's based in Southern California. You literally see the coast when she first walks out of the vault. And I believe you see like the Santa Monica Pier when she's coming out to do whatever. Because it's like a Ferris wheel and some kind of pier off to the side.
Some pier of some sort on a coast. Yeah.
Right. So I guess we can go round robin and kind of get our opinions of what we think of the show versus the game. And just kind of talk about it a little bit if you guys want to. So
sure.
Wolf, you seem to be digging deep for some information, sir. Have you got something good down there?
No, I was just curious about the timeline. In starting the show, I didn't know what year the bombs dropped. I don't know if I had just forgotten about that or what. So I kept thinking that the show took place in like the 2190s.
And then like 2050 or something like that. Am I accurate on that one, or is it a little later?
Apparently the bombs dropped in 2077.
2077? Cyberpunk.
Yes.
Let's go, baby.
And so like that, I was always so confused because everything in the Fallout world seemed like very 50s, 60s.
Sure.
That I didn't realize that it extended all the way into the 2000s. And then
I think it's important to establish that it is very much an alternate timeline. It is not meant to be our existence, right? I mean, this is basically communism picked up a lot more than it did in our world, and so you ended up having a lot more of that 50s esoteric kind of continue. So
yeah. And I mean, not only that, but you can see like it's always kind of funny when you look at it. You see like the TVs are still these old tube style TVs that are black and white and not very big.
But they figured out robotics.
They've got hovering robots, right?
Yeah.
So
you got Cogsworth floating around, but you can't get freaking HD TV anywhere.
It's believable.
Yeah, right.
It's believable.
And all the cars are run by cold fusion.
Well, in a world where war is constantly on the front lines of everybody's mind and how society works, I can see this other technology that's a spin-off of what's useful in wartime versus entertainment technology coming to the forefront and being what advances very fast. So it makes sense once you consider that. But I mean, obviously, alternate reality to the point of even radiation physics don't work the same way.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't put this in our world. It's a world that looks like our world, right?
Yeah. I mean, like to that point, I mean, you see the Cogsworths that are the military version of the Cogsworths in the game. You don't see it in the TV show.
Yeah.
But it would make sense that they are trying to prepare for whatever. And they already had the war, right, in Alaska that that started the whole thing before the bombs fell, because Walton Goggins' character talks at nauseum about how he fought in the war with the Brotherhood and all that stuff up there trying to fight back the communist invasion. So but I think as the game always focuses on the character, in my opinion, kind of focused on what the character was dealing with. The show focused on everything that's going on in the world around you. So it's not just based on Lucy and the ghoul and Maximus.
Well, I was going to
encompassing.
I was going to say that by splitting it into 3 main characters, they really kind of, divide it by showing you the world, right? I mean, So
they do that, but they technically give you 4 main characters, but one of them is like kind of under the radar a little bit because it's easy to think of. You have the ghoul, the vault dweller, and the Brotherhood, right? But you have two vault dwellers because Lucy's brother is also a major part of the story as far as what's unveiled for the viewer.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, they keep talking about the other ones, but he is also an exceptionally important role because he stays in the vault and does his digging and finds out some shit, which is great.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about his character because he's in Ender's Game as kind of the asshole kid later on, and I
kept looking at him like I recognize this guy. Who is this guy? I had to look him up
from this fucking kid, and then turns out he's actually a really good actor. So I was
once I looked him up, I was like, oh, I saw him when he was a child in a bunch of things. So
I mean, to be honest, or to be fair, I absolutely despised Brad Pitt when I first saw him because I saw him in Seven and he plays such a fucking doofus. Right? And I was like, fuck Brad Pitt forever. But then you see him in Fight Club and like, oh my God, my eyes were opened, right? I mean, this guy or 12 Monkeys. Like if you want to see Brad Pitt pull off a role, watch him in 12 Monkeys, right? I mean,
if we're talking actors, I've felt the same way about Leo DiCaprio for many years.
Yep.
And then found out that he can flex his acting muscle quite well. And quite recently, Robert Pattinson has become one of my favorite people to watch in anything other than what he's known for. So he's also got quite the talent as well.
But he's still sparkly.
That's true. Well, steering the ship back into post-apocalyptic America.
Wolf, what's your take on the? I mean, initial take. We can go into detail, but what's your initial take on the TV show? What's your comparison to the video games? What's your experience with both?
Okay, so I've played a little bit of 1 and 2. I didn't play a ton of them, maybe a few hours each. Same with Tactics, and then I played probably 100 to 150 hours of 3. I never did beat it because this was from the era when I didn't beat games. I just played the shit out of them and never finished them.
Well, it was a Bethesda game.
Right.
It was not Skyrim. It was Oblivion post-apocalyptic version. So you just go into side quest hell. Anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And then I know very little about New Vegas 4 or 76 because New Vegas, at the time I got it, it didn't like my computer, and like I'd try to sneak and I'd stop and my character would keep going for like another 10 seconds. Like that's not sneaking around. So I was just doomed from the start. It works great on the Steam Deck, so I might come back to it. Yeah. I tested that today.
Highly suggested.
And I do have 4, so at some point I'll play through them all, I think, because I have them all. There was another one too, Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. I think that was a console game for Xbox and PS2.
It was,
and that one is widely regarded as trash.
It was Tactics. it was a turn-based.
No.
You're right.
No, not that one. There's a console game, I think, just called Brotherhood of Steel.
I swear I played it, and I think it played like Tactics, if I remember right. Sinstress and I tried to play that together, and I think it was very much turn-based Tactics. It's been forever. I mean, it was when Sinstress and I first got together, so in like 2005.
Oh, but, I guess it is Tactics.
Not that long ago.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. So it is a tactical RPG. So if you're into that, you might like it, but I did not. So
yeah. So on console, they just left Tactics out of the title.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's just one was for the console and one was for the PC, but they were both tactical. They were both the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird because Brotherhood of Steel is an action role-playing game developed and published by Interplay Entertainment.
Well, either way, I did not like the Tactics game, or the Brotherhood of Steel game. I played it on Xbox, the original Xbox, and it was not the greatest experience. It was when Sinstress and I were playing co-op games. We'd played through D&D Heroes. We'd played through Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance 2. We were enjoying those, and we spun up because everybody was like, this is a co-op game. Yeah, and we spun it right back down. So
sometimes it's just not fun to play it with anybody or itself at all.
That's right.
I don't care if it's a co-op game. I'm going to co-op this into the trash. That happens.
Well, what's your take on the TV show?
Oh, I thought it was spectacular. I've done a lot of digging into the Fallout universe in general, just on wikis over the years, because I love the world they built.
Yes,
and it's fun to just learn about stuff. And honestly, one of the first things I ever learned about Fallout was Harold and Bob.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Harold and Bob.
It's been a while, but the names are familiar.
Harold is a ghoul who has a parasitic plant growing out of his head that he named Bob.
That's
Bob.
right.
Yes,
that's right. Yes.
And so when I came across Harold and Bob in Fallout 3, I was like, yes. And so I keep hoping, I kept wondering if maybe he was going to turn up in the TV show. But given that it probably takes place after Fallout 3, I'm guessing we're not going to see him in the show.
Oh, spoilers, man.
But
you never know. We could shoehorn that kind of stuff in. I imagine
that's true.
They might have been holding back quite a bit of things to see how the success of the show was, with just little smatterings of, callbacks and whatnot and Easter eggs.
But yeah, the really show
committing
has a lot of story elements that pull from various aspects of the games.
Yeah.
And like, it's not a wink and a nod kind of thing. It's unapologetic, but it's not over the top. It's done well. It's done right. Yep. It's just enough to feel like Fallout, and not too much where it feels like they're just ripping straight from the games and feeding you what the games already did, which is nice. I like that. And the exploration of the vaults that they put in the show was so cool, just to see that they didn't just pull from the games. They came up with their own weird social experiments for the vaults in the show, which was great.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I know Chard had to do the same thing I did with his wife in explaining how the Fallout world works when things showed up that didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. My wife knows nothing of any of the games. She's never played them. She's bought them for me. She knows of them, that they exist, but that's about it. And I was like, I haven't been excited about a TV show in, I can't remember when. And they announced this, and I saw her in the blue and yellow jumpsuit, and I was kind of like, that looks kind of cheesy. But then I went, that's the point. It's supposed to look that way. That's the 50s motif. It looks cheesy. So I was like, you know what? Maybe this will be pretty good. And the more I read about it, the more I was like, I'm getting really excited about this. And they got Walton Goggins in it, and that was it. I was sold. I wanted to be in all the way. And after the first episode, when you're doing something with somebody that you adore, and you're not sure if that person's going to adore it, but the entire time you're watching the show doing this.
Yeah.
I swear she was right in front of me. So I could do it very, quietly and quickly. And when it was done, she was like, that was awesome. And I went, yes.
Yeah.
And we watched 2 episodes on the first night. And then when we came home from work, she goes, Fallout? Can we put on Fallout? And I was like, yes, we can. I've been thinking about it all day. So we watched, 3 more. And then we kept doing it until it was finished, because there's only 8 episodes. And she goes, we don't have any more to watch, but they did announce that they are confirmed for a second season, as far as I know. So I'm really,
from what I remember, they soft announced that basically it had been renewed before it had even really dropped, right?
Yeah.
But then they finally came out and they're like,
confirmed.
Yeah, well, I think that's what it was, is basically, I think there was a handshake agreement with like Amazon Prime, that this was going to be renewed. And then finally there was like a contractual, signing that happened.
Right. But I know like piggybacking on the same thing, like I was excited with Wolf telling, wife Wolf, how everything was working. She would look at me and she goes, what's that? And I'd tell her and she goes, oh, that's neat. Hey, what's that? And I'm laughing at like some of the stupid shit that they do, like the rat away, how quickly that shit works.
Oh
yeah.
The first I was gonna say the first time she hits a stim pack or whatever, and I'm like, all right, it functions like the game, and that's great. Like, in what world do you heal that quickly when like you get a
It was so perfect. Like everything about it was great, and it was fun to explain it because I understood what was going on and I knew all the tropes and whatnot. And she had a blast. So I saw Mr. Merv came on and said that nobody knows about the game. Like coworkers didn't know about the game but loved the show. It is a perfectly well told show, even without the games to be represented.
If you have never played the games, if you know nothing of the games other than they exist, even if that, the show is still, it doesn't cater to fans to where to where people who are uninitiated won't enjoy it. It is very much enjoyable by anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very accessible.
I also find it really refreshing that even though the Fallout universe has zombies per se, they don't call them, zombies, but it was refreshing to not just have like plain zombie post-apocalyptic, right? And that's one of the other things that's great about Fallout is it's not, while there is a zombie aspect, it shows that society doesn't have to be like a handful of people against a mountain of zombies, right?
Right.
So
it's the human experiment. I like the human experiment in the post-apocalyptic thought process, right? Like you said, there's factions, obviously. There's raiders, and then there's the Brothers of Steel, and there's the Vault Dwellers, ghouls, and so on and so forth. But they're not all clumped together and hiding in their little ghoul territories or whatever. They're all spread out doing the thing.
Other than the Vault Dwellers, who don't know that there are other factions, right? Like that's one of my favorite things is like there's a faction that thinks they're alone. It's whatever this. I think we're alone now.
Right. Their naivety is really sold very, very well, and it reminds me of Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser. When they live in the bomb shelter, it's the same concept of the okie dokies and the gee gollies and all that crap, and then you go out in the hellhole. That is an actual hellhole, and she still keeps that positive attitude throughout the entire fucking show for the most part.
But even within the people that have been out in the world, right? Like there's that scene, and I'm not going to give away too much here, but there's that scene where like the guy's like, yeah, it's just over that hill. She's like, so have you been there? He's like, no, I've never gone over the hill. Like,
right.
It's this level of like naivety that like, yeah. So
no, it's really cool. Yeah. The creatures are all extremely well designed. There's some really cool radiated stuff. Of course, the rad make their appearance quite often, and her having to drink the radiated water and all that shit. Like it's just really well done. It's super well done, and I cannot tell you how pleasantly surprised I was watching the show from start to finish. So
yep. I love that it brings in the commerce, the caps. It brings in the commerce so well. I mean, and it's and to the point that was brought up earlier, like you don't have to be a Fallout person to like. They bring it in a way that it just like it explains itself as it comes flying in, right? Like the bottle caps, or the trade, right? Like, I can. They're gonna need new limb, like
right. Man, the fucking figure.
Yeah. So, and I'm trying to be like abstract enough that I'm not giving away, spoilers, but I thought the antagonist was great, especially since and I don't think this is a spoiler. I'm sorry if it is, but the antagonist even kind of disappears for a few episodes and isn't missed, right? I mean, it comes back at kind of the appropriate moment, right? So, yeah.
It's just nice. There's a lot of challenges that each individual is putting up with, right? You got Lucy's brother in the vaults doing putting up with like getting caught, trying to figuring all the shit out. And what he finds out at the end is freaking, it's both twisted and hilarious.
The vault politics, are beautiful.
I think it was whatever Vault 31 has in it or something. It was, I was rolling.
And like I even put up a few posters, like, like just like,
and Maximus dealing with the Brotherhood of Steel and all that stuff. Like, it's just, there's some really good stories, and they don't they don't jumble up too much. Like it's not like Game of Thrones where you're like, who the fuck is this guy? Who are people? Like all these people, I got to remember literally this whole tree of people that I don't remember. And then they come in 9 episodes later and you're like, I don't even remember where this guy came in, but in his face.
Or worse, they replace the actor for the same role 3 times.
Right, exactly.
The Mountain in Game of Thrones was 3 different actors.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but it's packaged really nicely and shown very, very well and very, very thought out, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. I didn't expect it to adhere quite as tightly to the games as it did. I'm glad it did.
Same.
But that was kind of funny because, the 3 vault thing, which is revealed in the first episode.
Yeah.
So that's not a spoiler. But and that one I was like, this is new. I've never seen 3 vaults together like this. This is unusual.
Right.
And so the wife is like, oh, they're not all like this? And I was like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and I'm curious to see if they're going to do what the games do. And I was trying not to spoil it for her. And finally she dug it out of me. And I was like, all right, in the games, every vault is some weird social experiment.
Yeah.
So if the show is holding true to that, this is also one of those weird social experiments. And sure enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
True to the game.
Real quick, I want to talk about like the intro to this series, like the very beginning with Walton Goggins and his daughter. And I'm not going to go into like what happens because honestly, you just need to watch 15 minutes of television. I was like, my mouth, I think, was agape. Like that whole, like, your thumb or mine, like,
yep.
Right? Yeah.
It's great because like there's the social event going on, and everything around the social event, the news anchor on the TV, the dude on the radio, they're all like, I don't even know if I should tell you what's gonna happen tomorrow because I don't fucking know if there's gonna be a tomorrow.
And like, everybody at the event is like, let's just turn that off. Let's just ignore it.
They're just trying to live their lives to the best of their abilities, and man, already knowing what's going to happen, and you expect it, what shit's going to hit the fan. Still the way they portrayed shit hitting the fan, Sinistar's right. It was just like, oh god, like wow, and even my wife was just again aghast at the whole thing that was going on.
And Walton Goggins and his daughter fucking nails it. Like,
oh yeah,
that actor is just like, she's gonna go places. Like,
they absolutely nailed the whole thing. So and the camera shots of all of it happening, where she's looking and you see everything in the glass of the big 50s glass house. It's just like, Jesus, this is cool. So I'm probably gonna end up watching it again after we're done.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, you haven't watched the TV show and you're on the fence, you're like, I'm not sure if I want to watch a video game TV show, or I've watched video game movies, or, I've watched Street Fighter, the movie, and I'm good. Or I've watched Mario Brothers, not the new one. I've watched Mario Brothers, and you're like, I'm good with go just watch the intro to follow.
This is a good story by itself. Yeah. This is a good story if it wasn't a game. Yeah. This would be a great TV show without the games to latch on to.
Yeah, this is another one of those cases where it's a film adaptation of a video game, and it absolutely does it justice. But instead of having to be, because that's one of the things I love about Fallout, is it doesn't take itself extraordinarily seriously. Like there's a dark story, there's it's a messed up situation, and the game doesn't shy away from that. But it also doesn't shy away from having a sense of humor about everything, right? And the show absolutely encapsulates that and captures it beautifully.
Absolutely.
And so you're going through hold on.
I see. Yep.
Hello. We'll have that discussion later.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
I'm
You're good.
Yeah. So it doesn't shy away from that. I'll have to talk with him later about that. It doesn't shy away from that. I love it. And the show is absolutely hilarious, along with being super messed up and serious. Great at it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
I mean, they take use of like the VAT system too. Like it's very briefly, but the locational damage you can do on enemies and stuff. Now, again, it's extremely grotesque and quite gory. But it's so well done.
There are moments of this show, and I'm pretty desensitized to television gore and violence, and there are moments in this show that I was like, oh, yeah, wow.
And it just keeps coming on top of that. Like when he heats the new foot, I'm rolling. When he does
my
the
God.
whole thing, I'm done. And my wife's like, holy God. I was like, yeah, welcome to Fallout. It's cool. It's really neat.
No, honestly, sorry, I'm gonna gush a little bit more about the beginning of the show. Yeah. You know, going to Last of Us, right? There is an episode of Last of Us that even if you have no interest in Last of Us, the video game, there is a love story episode of Last of Us that is two side characters in the Last of Us, game that are just literally they're Elden Ring mentioned in a weapon description, right? But there is an episode of Last of Us that I was like, that is some of the greatest like television storytelling I've seen. The intro to Fallout, I was like, that is some of the greatest television storytelling I have seen. Right. So, and then it just continues. So,
yeah, the execution is just top notch. It's top notch cinematography, top notch acting by everybody involved in it. And it stands alone. You don't, if not a single Fallout game was ever created and they were just like, let's make this post-apocalyptic show based in the 50s in the future, it would still be a wonderfully executed thing. It just happens to have all the same, great stuff from the game that we all know and love. Yeah. So they had lore to lean on and turned it into a fantastic TV show that I hope runs for quite a while. I think there's a lot of potentiality in this.
Well, I want to call out, I think this is probably a good point to say, maybe we'll talk a little bit spoilers. We're not going to talk about, we're not going to go talk about, like, we're not going to give you a synopsis spoiler wise from front to back, but I do want to talk about a couple events that may be considered spoilers. So if you're listening or watching and you haven't watched this or you don't want to, or you don't want the spoilers, now's a good time to, go check out, maybe spin up Fallout 3 or New Vegas, right? I mean,
go watch the show. Yeah. Stop watching us. Go watch the show.
Right. Come back to us.
Stop watching. Then come back.
Come back to us afterwards. And while you're here, subscribe and all that stuff. PressB2cancel.com or PressB.org.
Subscribe and like the video so you remember to come back here.
Yeah. No. Okay. So that's probably enough time for people to figure out if they want to stay.
There you go. Okay, you were pausing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're going into spoiler territory.
Yeah. So
spoilers.
I want to say that I was disappointed, and I'm excited, hopefully, for season 2, that we didn't see 2 primary enemies from the game.
Right. Well,
the first
we did see some layabout.
I didn't see super mutants, and I was disappointed. Because honestly, super mutants are so, like, they're yes, we're going to talk about the other one in a minute, which is worse. But super mutants are like, oh shit, I see do I have enough ammo? Like,
I'm going to chime in on this real quick, but correct me if I'm wrong. They see the city of Los Angeles, like what the remainder of the skyscrapers, quite often in the distance for quite a while. I know that they go to the new California Republic area, but I still think that's far away from the main city itself, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that's true, but I feel like that. Super mutants, if I remember right, were very heavily invested in the major city areas. So maybe we didn't get far enough in to the city to see that, and maybe that's what they're kind of leaving that open for. I don't know. Again, I think they were saving enough of the extra shit that, you and I, and the second one that you're going to talk about, I was also kind of sad we didn't see, but we did see the remnants of something similar to that.
Yeah. Yes, we'll talk about
maybe
that.
they were holding back some so that when season 2 comes out, they can give us a little bit more. They didn't hit us all at one time. So maybe that's the theory.
Yeah. So
okay, here's something interesting. A little aside. I did not realize that Shady Sands is actually in a game.
Yeah, Shady Vegas, Sands. Right? Yeah, it's in New Vegas, I think, if I remember
right.
Is it? I think so.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
Get corrected.
Don't quote me on that. We'll have to get
corrected by somebody. Yeah.
I played Fallout 3, and then I spun up New Vegas very closely after I was playing Fallout 3, and so there's probably a lot of crossover that I'm going to mix up in my brain. But I do remember for sure Shady Sands, and in fact, they talked about how that in the TV show that might have messed up canon, right? I mean, which is probably where like that whole like the TV show isn't canon, but anyway.
According to this, it's a major location in Fallout 1 and 2.
Okay. And that's, like I said,
I said, that does take place in the California New Republic. So,
yeah, it's been since before I was married that I played Fallout 1 and 2. Like I played that on an original Pentium back in the day.
Pentium 1.
Yeah. I actually spun it up. I've refurbished a Pentium 100. I'm pointing to it off screen, so you can't, bingo, but it's off screen.
There.
But one of the first games I installed was Fallout 1, funny enough. Anyway, no, Shady Sands for sure. But yeah, so Super Mutants, I would love to see Super Mutants make their way in. I was super excited to see the Brotherhood of Steel, right? And the power armor and all of that stuff. Like I'm glad that made it in. But then the other one, and this is spoiler territory as well, we see in the very end of the last episode, we see a skull on the ground. Kind of that desert, deer skull, but it's got some weird horns and that's
frightening.
That's Death Claws. And Death Claws, as bad as Super Mutants are,
yeah.
I look at my ammo reserves and I look at all of that when I'm going against Super Mutants. When it's Death Claws, I look for an exit.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So
and there's a fight or that you have to fight one in a museum and you're stuck in the museum until you can take it out. So Death Claws they're not just cleverly named. They are terrifying, horribly. I'm curious to see. I kept hoping because I kept having the weird salamander creature keep popping up.
The Gulper.
And the Gulper. And I kept hoping that maybe like off screen when another Gulper showed up, it was going to be a Death Claw instead. And I was like, fuck. It's still just a Gulper. Like, give me more radiated demon beasts. I want to see what's out there. So
they didn't give us a whole lot of the creatures. We really just got the Rad Roach, the Yao Guai, and the Gulper.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
honestly, when we saw the Gulper, I was expecting what are they, Nukalurks?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think honestly part of it is I think they also wanted to keep the quantity of CGI to a minimum, at least for this first season. Yeah, they had rad roaches, they had the Gulpers, they had the power armor, right? But
even so, it still looked clean. I mean, it didn't look like, well, that's clearly, I mean, obviously a giant roach is going to be CGI'd in, but I mean, even Cogsworth looked really, really well done in anime.
Oh my God. How fucking amazing is it that Matt Berry voiced the fucking robot? Oh,
100%.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know there's people out there trying to find mods to put Matt Berry's voice as the Cogsworth on all of 4. And it's too perfect. Like when I heard him talk, I went, No way.
Uh-huh.
No way.
As soon as I heard Cogsworth, I was like, "Oh yeah, I love that guy."
Yeah. And then he also makes an appearance later in the show, so you can confirm it. But I mean, you can tell it's Matt Berry the minute he opens his mouth. People expect Laszlo to come flying in through the roof.
You know, we're gonna have to have Fallout New York City.
New York City.
Yeah. Oh, Matt Berry.
Yeah. Everybody they got to be involved in this project just did a knockout job, and it's so good. It's so good. May I approach the bitch?
Yeah. Sinster says, Matt Berry, if you're listening, you have an open invitation to guest here.
Please, holy Christ. What did you think I said? Bartender.
In fact, we'll turn off our mics and our video, and you can just spend an hour and a half doing your own thing. It'll be Press B Matt Berry edition. Yeah. No, the cast of the series was so good. What's his name is the overseer of the the other experimental vault. What's his name? He's
Tom Bergeron.
Is that who it is?
Tom Bergeron.
Talk about Vault 3. Is Vault 3 right?
Good old One Eye.
Good old One Eye. Oh man,
who was
that whole Vault experiment was fucking outrageous.
Oh yes, it so was. This show is just so to your story about Rogue
Chris Parnell, my bad.
Chris Parnell.
Yeah, I thought it was Parnell.
Your story about Rogue basically being like Fallout, like every time you'd come home. I finished Witcher 3, so we took a break, we took a gap. Yeah. We watched a couple episodes, and then I finished Witcher 3, and then literally it was like, okay, Fallout, and we just kept it rolling. We just, so
it didn't feel like there was no lull for me in the show. I thought everything was just perfectly knitted together, and I was excited to see the next episode. Mm-hmm. Like when we hit 8 and that final, literally the sun goes down at the very end of the final season, or the season of 1, I was depressed. Like, why can't it be like Frasier and get 23 of these, in a season? I don't want just 8. I need like 10. At least give me 10. 15.
I'm really surprised I didn't Mad Max Fury Road this. So Sinstress and I watched Mad Max Fury Road, and I said to her afterwards, I was just glued to my seat. And Mad Max Fury Road basically is like action, like a 10-minute intermission in the middle where it like has a moment of like, oh, okay, we're gonna collect ourselves, and then action again, right? Like,
yeah.
And I said to Sinstress, I said, I just want to watch this one part again, and just watch the whole movie again, right?
Right.
And so I'm surprised. I'm surprised I didn't. As Sister says, I almost Fury Roaded this. So if you ever hear, me saying I'm gonna Fury Road this, I just want to watch this one part.
But the whole thing.
Yeah.
You're just gonna start at the beginning. You rewind too far, and you go, "Oops! I guess we might as well just start it over."
Right.
All right. It's all good. Yeah. I do that with music all the time. I Fury Road all of these songs that I like. Trust me, I listen to the Ink Blots like this entire all day today, so I can get that goddamn song down before we started this episode. Which is great because now everybody's listening to these old timey 20s, 30s, and up to 50s music that
set the world on fire. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. When I was walking around in the game, I would just turn it to that station.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who do or watch TikTok, there's a bunch of really funny clips going around of people like my girlfriend or wife watching Fallout and getting all suspenseful and shit. And it goes me fucking jamming to the bangers of the soundtrack from the game. And it's just some dude like fucking dancing in the kitchen to this song. And it's so fucking true about all of that, because I was like humming all the words when they put all the Johnny Cash and stuff in there. That's
another thing too, is they got to go hard on the soundtrack because these are all such old songs that they're probably ridiculously cheap to license, or in some cases free to use.
Yeah.
So it's the fact that they have so many good songs, and they didn't just pull from what the games used in the soundtrack. They went for other stuff, which is great. But just all these songs, every time these songs came on, I was singing along in my head, and grooving. And
when the ghoul is taking everybody out in like the first outside town that you see, and that Johnny Cash song comes on, it's just like poetry in motion. It is audibly and visually exceptionally stimulating. It's so fucking great.
You know what my favorite part of that scene is? It's not the violence. It's not him taking everybody out. It's him reaching into his pocket and just dumping a shit ton of caps and basically being like, "This is for your troubles."
Like he's talking to the dude that he shot next to the well when he's reloading his guns, and they're having like a conversation. Like he's having a very one-sided conversation with the other guy. It's just so well choreographed. But
well, I want to say, because we touched mostly on the TV show. My favorite game, and what's funny is I probably only have 30 or 40 hours in this, but Fallout New Vegas, the dialogue to me is top tier. I played a whole bunch of Fallout 3. I played Fallout 1 and 2. I don't know that I've ever beaten a Fallout game. I actually,
I have. I'm just saying I have, but only one.
Well, I actually spun up after Witcher 3 because my stretch goal on my Sisyphean challenge is more open world games. So I actually spun up Fallout 3 again. But I ran into the situation where I'm like, all of the creature comforts of modern open world games don't exist in this game.
Right.
Do I want to deal with like not having the pathing done for me? Right.
Right.
Yeah. So
I mean, they make it very true to form of like, I don't know where the hell I'm going or where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had a quest where I had two events that I had. Well, one was an optional, right? And my problem is if they throw an optional goal on a side quest, I'm going to go do the optional goal. But the problem is it shows up as 2 waypoints on the little compass, but it doesn't tell you which is which.
Right.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So anyway, no, I need to go back. I need to finish 3. I definitely want to finish New Vegas. And then at some point, I tried to play Fallout 4, but it never hooked me. Like the dialogue felt stretched.
Yeah.
So
I think Fallout 4 for me, I'm not a big base builder person. I know Jake is quite the fan of any kind of base building type game. And it just, to me, I want to get into the action. I want to get into the conversations. I don't want to have to like set up a plan, a location to work from, do all that work, and then go out and do the world. I feel like it's a lot of extra.
You should play New Vegas. You should play New Vegas.
Well, New Vegas, that's on the list. And I think New Vegas is the only one that doesn't start with a vault dweller, if I'm not mistaken. Right.
It's the courier.
Right. And but once I got past all that stuff, I really dove into 4 quite a bit. And I did like the story, and I think for me it was less like how much I was driven by the story, but it was more like everything looked nicer and was cooler looking, and an improvement on the graphics and this, that, and the other. I have 76. Again, the story, my wife bought me Fallout 76 when it was released, and it was a giant dumpster fire. I still have it for my PS4 in the cellophane, but it came back out. The show came out, and there's been a massive uptick in purchases in 76. It also helps that these games were $7 freaking on Steam. So I went and got it. I went and picked up 76 again and put it on here. And the improvements that they've made to the game are amazing. Now, the only thing that's a drawback of 76 is it is multiplayer. There will be people rolling around, but it is not required that you play with people if you don't want to. So you can do the whole game solo if you choose to. You just have to do it online, which is lame. But Fallout 3 for me, out of the whole gambit, and I've not played New Vegas, so I don't have a lot of say in that one. It might change my tune. But I thought 3 was spectacular. And I beat the game. I finished that one up, but unfortunately I did it before all the DLC was released. So the war against New Anchorage and some of the other DLCs that dropped in are supposed to be really cool. And I went to go fire those back up, but I was like, this game was such an emotional undertaking. I don't know if I could play it anymore. Right now, I tried to Dead Space it. I tried to Fury Road it and play from the very beginning again, and I couldn't get back into it because I knew what had happened. I've been emotionally sent through the ringer, and I kind of put it all away because there's a lot of decisions in most RPGs and Fallout games and Bethesda where the decisions you make will change what's going on later on in the game. And there's like
not
whole
just
thing,
that, but your actions too. Like
yeah. I mean, there's a robot that comes to you,
your karma,
and you can bring the robot with you and like help it solve its life, or you can tell it to go get fucked, and then it goes away and you never see it again. So there's a whole like side quest, and I think it came to talk to me. I was like, I'm over inundated, go away. And I think I kicked it out, so I didn't do anything with it. But there's a whole thing that you could have done with that I completely missed because of my impatience. So it was something that I would love to revisit.
By the way, Blitz said he was listening from the car. If Blitz is still here, he spun up Fallout 3 after the TV show started, and I was watching his stream, and I got a clip of him snipering a guy, and in true Bethesda fashion, it wasn't the guy's head just, rolls back or whatever. It goes flying into the air like true Bethesda style. This thing is just it enters orbit. Blitzbrom, twitch.tv/Blitzbrom. Go watch the clip. It's well worth watching.
It's true to Bethesda form. Yeah. I've seen a lot of clips of people replaying it or playing it for the first time, and they have it in the slow motion VAT system, and then they shoot someone in the leg, and their leg goes spinning, and they go flying off the screen somewhere. It's quite humorous.
How many Skyrim like stretched human events were a meme, right? Sorry, Wolf.
That was such a moment in the show too. The VATS tribute scene.
Yep.
Where you just have them going nuts, shooting everybody, and it's all these slow motion, beautiful, gory shots.
Yep.
Following the bullet from right behind as it goes.
It's so perfect.
Oh man.
Well,
I was laughing my butt off at that one.
Fantastic games, fantastic shows. I almost would like to go back and try 1 and 2. I know they're super dated, but I mean, we're retro podcast, so you're touching on something that was, I forget when they released. I think 97 or something.
The dialogue.
Yeah, I don't know if you picked up on it, but the code entered into the computer at the end of in the last episode was the release date of the first Fallout.
Nice.
It was 10/10/97.
Nice.
Yep. That's what I had my assumptions
I had
about
a feeling, so I had to look it up and make sure, but sure enough, I was like, okay, cool. I see you guys.
The dialogue in 1 and especially in 2, the dialogue is the driver of those games, and it's well worth at least go watch a long play or play on your own.
I think they're like $2 on GOG too. I don't
probably.
think they're.
Yeah, they're generally pretty cheap.
Get milk money and go buy them.
I don't know if they still are, but they were just free on Twitch Prime. So
hop on over to Twitch real quick.
We have a I'm gonna go look face if you're listening.
Yeah. But all the little nods to the games without being too cheesy about it, or maybe just cheesy enough about it. I don't know, but they were great. Between what he calls the dog meat.
Yep.
And it's just a throwaway line. It just does it one time.
Yep.
Now he has an incident, spoiler, with the dog, and which would pretty much decimate any dog, but he hits it with a fucking stim pack, and the dog jumps right up.
Yeah.
I freaking love that shit. So, Hey, Fallout 76 looks like it's available on Prime right now as well. If anybody's
Nice.
interested.
Yeah, it's through the Windows Store. It's not.
Oh, okay.
It's not
There's a
great.
PC version. Okay. Well, it's still pretty good. The game is. I mean, the games are great. The TV show is fantastic. You don't need to know anything about anything. Just go and check it out.
Yeah.
And
It's a very
make
cool
your own
world. It's a very cool
opinions.
world.
Yeah. Exceptionally cool
And
world.
to spoil just a couple other things, but not too in depth. It was cool that the show actually gave us reasoning for what, like how the bombs were dropped and why, because we didn't get that in the games, I don't think. So
no, I think it was
new.
just
that was cool to experience.
I think the games
It was
were
always
just the bombs have been dropped, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah, it was always just assumed it was the result of nuclear war, right? But it was never confirmed. And so the show finally confirms why the bombing happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you guys said, we get to see when it happens, which was just wild. And then not only that, but there were nods to various vaults and why they were such bizarre experiments.
Right.
That they showed us in the show too. Like that was very tongue in cheek. They just threw out some ideas that were like, I know that one. I know that one.
Yep.
Right.
There's even a character. I
definitely like the backstory they added. That's
there's even a character in that meeting that is apparently thought to be a character from New Vegas.
Okay.
Yes. Someone from Rob Co, I think.
By the way, if you watch it with subtitles on Prime, the part where they finally kind of give you the idea of what's happening in Vault 31, the name given to one character is Brain on a Roomba.
Yep. Yep. I love that. I loved him.
Brain on a Roomba.
That was great.
Brain on a Roomba. Yep.
That is that's like what it's describing who's talking. It says brain on a Roomba.
Right.
Yep.
Well, gentlemen, I think we've covered quite a bit of this stuff and did some light sprinkling of the games involved. Is there anything else that we would like to add to this discussion?
No, I think it's well worth watching, and I think they're well worth playing. As you touched on, 1 and 2 are old school, and they do take a little bit of kind of that old school, like get into that headspace, but they're good too.
Did you guys have a favorite character in the show?
Oh, I'm a homer for the ghoul, and I love Walton Goggins. I think he's amazing, and he just does that Southern fucking player so goddamn well. Everything he does, I mean, he's kind of maybe a little typecasted in the whole Southern dude, but from Baby Billy to fucking vice principals to Boyd Crowder, he just does everything he does so goddamn well, and he added to the show in ways that I pretty much was hoping that he'd do. And I got to go with the ghoul. I think he's an awesome character, and he's got some depth to him. He's not just fucking around. He's definitely got some shit that he's trying to hammer out, and I appreciate what he did with him from the very beginning of the show, of him starting out and his side story going through each episode. You're discovering like he's not just an asshole irradiated ghoul dude. He's got a motive. He's got these issues, and he's trying to figure them out. And you're just like, at the end, you're like, what the fuck? So big fan of him as a character.
I don't know that I had. I mean, that's kind of one of the things I appreciate about the show is that each character had their time in the sun, right? Each character had their 15 minutes. And
none of them is like dry or dull or anything. It's hard to be like, oh, I dislike Maximus or I dislike Lucy or any of those. Like the main protagonists are all great.
I even loved the main antagonist. I thought her character was well done as well, even though she disappears for a while. Like that last, her kind of climax episode there at the end. Like, it's one of those moments where you're like, I'm kind of pulling for you a little bit, right? Like,
There's a good flip on the head like towards the end of the series, that you're just like, I didn't expect to join onto this fucking bandwagon, but here we are.
But I'll be honest with you, if a gun were to my head, and I didn't have a stim pack, I would probably say I was pulling for Lucy the whole time. You know, I kind of love that naive character that has to grow, but also doesn't lose that that naivety, you know? I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when she finds out the true story of her dad and her mom,
totally fucking what?
Like you're like holy shit, Lucy.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about you, Wolf?
Probably the ghoul. His history was great. The wife also felt that way. Like he's the character she was most invested in. But I gotta throw out there, Thaddeus was hilarious.
Yes.
He's such a douchebag, and you want to hate him, but you can't.
Right. His ending is pretty good too.
They give redeeming qualities to characters that you should hate, right?
Right. Yep.
And then even the snake oil salesman was pretty funny.
Yep.
Yeah, he was good.
Oh, and that's a huge, like, you know, the world is like, what's in this serum, right? Like there's a lot of questions around this serum.
Yeah. Right.
So
I'd love to give a call out to the actor that played Maximus, and I fucking loved his portrayal of Maximus. And when he gets into the vault for the first time, and he's just sitting on the couch eating popcorn, you know, just taking a shower, you know, shit that he never got to do in the Brotherhood of Steel. And you're just like, man, I feel for this dude. And his facial reaction to everything is so perfect. Everything. He is such a great actor for that character. I know I love the Ghoul Homer for the thing, but you know, if I had to pick a second, and it would be a close second, it'd have to be at least the actor that played Maximus was fucking killer.
Oh yeah, he nailed it.
I think everybody nailed their part, honestly.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
not a bad person in this show.
What's her name? Uggams, you know, who played Blind Al in Deadpool. You know, I mean, she nails her part. Oh yeah, it's just And that backstory, and what talking about the politics, right? The three that go up to become overseer, and I love the whole, like, you know, it just the votes at the end. You're like,
yep.
Us. I'm sorry. I had to vote. I had to vote for Betty.
Yeah.
That's fine. You don't have to explain. It was just that there was this and this. I get it. And then there was this. We get it.
Oh my God. That guy that, like, he explains everything he does. Like he's berating Lucy and he's like, well, that didn't work. Like, you know, just like...
the whole vault dweller community down there is fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They're really funny.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think this is a great time to say adieu to this wonderful audience that is coming hanging out with us tonight. But of course, we will go around the circle here, or square, or triangle, actually, as it were, and just say, do we got anything going on, Wolf? What do you got on your list of things, if anything?
When I finally get my office cleaned up, it's an absolute mess. I know it looks spotless at the moment, but it's a mess.
See out the window, it looks great.
But once I do that, I want to start playing. I know I keep saying this, friggin' my Sisyphean game, Okami.
Yours is downloaded,
and because I finally watched the movie, which is a prequel to it, Turbo Kid.
Oh, nice.
So now I can play through Turbo Kid and be caught up with the story. So I'm excited for both of those. I'm really looking forward to them, and I want to record them and put them up on the channel.
Okay. Well, GP already let the cat out of the bag for you, Sinistar. Here, you're going to start streaming 5 days a week now. Is that actually going to go down?
Sure.
That's a really empty shirt.
Yeah, it was. I feel hollow from that. Sure. What do you got there, buddy?
No, I want to get back to streaming one day a week. There's a lot of life going on right now. But I as I said, I spun up Fallout 3. I finished my Sisyphean. I spun up Fallout 3. I may use Fallout 3 as my stretch goal, but there's also a bunch of games that I want to get to as far as open world games. I'm also in one of those places where like I feel like I want to read something, like read a book, but I keep starting something and not finishing it. So I'm not doing a lot, or I guess I should say I'm doing a lot, but I'm not getting a lot done.
Yeah. He's out there. He's out there, ladies and gentlemen. Perfect. Well, I'm going to make my attempt to make some kind of stream schedule more lasting because, again, as Sinistar said, life has happened and it's very busy in the Charred Monk house. Had a lot of guests, which I loved having, but I'm also happy to have my house back. Oh, yeah, this guy. People breaking in, doing podcasts in my office. Me? But yeah, this we got a big storm coming through, as I said at the beginning of the podcast here in Washington.
Yeah, where we are in the Colorado area, we're on Monday. We're supposed to be getting snow and rain, so I think we're picking up yours.
That's probably crap that Wolf and I are going to dump off on your doorstep. Yeah. But in being so stormy and shitty, I wanted to try and maybe throw like a RimWorld stream together tonight. It might happen. It might not. I don't know. I'll either see or you won't. But I am planning on jumping on tomorrow to get back to Horizon Forbidden West, which we've been trying to get back into for the last couple of weeks. So I apologize for my personal absence from Twitch, and but you can still catch us here on the old YouTubes. But yeah, there's going to be some RimWorld, and we're going to finish up Horizon Zero Dawn here, hopefully in the month of May. And I have been playing it quietly to myself when I do have windows to do so, and it's been pretty good. It's been picking up really well. So that's what I've got planned. I think Jake is going to start his own foot-long sub clinic to teach people how to make that. So you should go check that out. And
he's gonna get to Street Fighter 6. I heard he was
6 foot long sandwich.
I heard he was going to stream that 6 days a week. So yeah,
Subway Fighter 6 foot long, something like that. Almost as big as my couch, which is 5 feet. Also, Guy Prime is he's going to be doing some stuff coming up here for a little bit. So he'll be in and out, but he's got some good stuff. So send out the good jujus to both of those gentlemen, please, because there's got some good shit coming their way that's going to be really awesome when they get that all knocked out. So
I'm going to call out. Call out. Sinstress and I have been watching. It's an Apple TV show called For All Mankind, and it is some of the best television. I'm not saying that lightly. I am not saying that lightly. I have cheered. I have fretted. I have cried. This show is just amazing.
Wow.
Alternate history if Russia beat us to the moon.
So Fallout.
With
space travel.
Fallout if the bombs didn't drop.
Yes.
Yeah, Wolf knows what's up. We got it. All right, guys. Well, as always, every Friday, this has been Press B to Cancel. Please come visit us at the Discord. Tell us how wrong we are. Tell us your favorite Fallout games. Tell us your favorite Fallout characters. Tell us the show's absolutely garbage and we don't know why we're talking about it. Or gush with us about how wonderful the show is, because you will get kicked or banned, because there's no way that no one will not find some kind of enjoyment in the show. You can find us at www.pressbtocancel.com. Thank you very much. I will not make that fucking mistake again. And please go check out, of course, my friend Sinistar77, his wife Sinistress77, Sick Jake, when we can finally get his ass to streaming again, Wolf and Guy Prime and myself, all here on the podcast every Friday. And we love you. And thank you so much for being here. Until then, as I always say, peace and chicken feet.
And remember the golden rule. Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.